from a Crazy Gen Xer. My name's Natalie, and I am your Crazy Gen Xer. And today, we're going to have a big rant. Due to the fact that I am sitting here arguing with the goddamn AI fucking system, and they're constantly calling me anti-Semite because I am explaining to them how the Israelis of today are not the same Jews that were persecuted against during the Holocaust. I mean, we know that they are part of the Stern Gang, they're part of the Lehi Gang, and the Haganahs, okay? These were all terrorist organizations, okay? That is who created Israel. And until we get to this point where we actually see it for what it actually is, okay? That it's them who are the terrorists, and I don't really care that you're going to see that. I have to look at my nose. I guess I don't have any boogers. It's just a reflection that came out kind of weird. Anyways, and yeah, I do. Okay, I can also tell you the reason I'm starting to part my hair over on that side because I think I'm going bald right here. You know, I had alopecia in my mid-20s. I went to the doctor. The doctor gave me some cream. I put it on my head and poof, it went away and my hair grew back. And that's basically it. No, alopecia isn't just hair loss. Alopecia is where your antibodies in your system literally start attacking the pigment of your hair, which causes it to fall out. That is the actual reality of it, okay? And yeah, I didn't understand that before and until it was literally had to be explained to me by the dermatologist because the doctor I went to said, no, it just means hair loss. And when I went to the dermatologist, he said, no, that's not true. It's not just hair loss. It is literally your body attacking the pigment of your hair follicles. It's not just the pigment in your hair follicles. It's also pigment in other things of you, and which does cause, though, when it attacks the hair follicles, it causes the hair to fall out. Irregardless, let's move on. Okay, so I'm sitting here and look, I am just curious of this, okay, which seems like a normal question. If I live in the United States, obviously, okay, and if Mexico or Canada was invading us, okay, and our government's military was so weakened, which in the future could be possible. I mean, here we are spending all of our military dollars and military might defending the foreign nation, which I like to believe is a terrorist regime of Israel, okay, far, far away from homeland. So in the future, who knows what will happen to the United States? It could end up being that our military is so decimated that we cannot defend ourselves, okay? And we need militias to rise up to defend our country, okay? So it isn't so far-fetched that it could happen in the future. Okay, I don't know when or if it will, but it could happen in the future. So, well, let's say that it does, okay? And Mexico or Canada, we can even say both Mexico and Canada decide to team up to attack us, okay? As it is, what happened to Syria, where Israel and Turkey rose up to attack Syria from both North and South, and no, the Syrian government or military could not defend against that, okay? But in the means of Lebanon, and I do want to say this, okay, because I know that Lebanon has a lot of Christian community, and it's mostly Catholic. I mean, I being a non-practicing Catholic, and that is part why I just don't believe. Okay, I don't believe in anything. I mean, I would like to believe, but I want to be grounded because I can go into many different spaces with my head because my head moves at, my brain processes information at way too fast of a speed for even I to understand it all. And that's the only way I can, like, put it out there, and it moves very fast. Like some people say, you know, I always do the more and more and more, okay? many, many, many moons instead of many moons, where most people say that. I use it 3 times because that's the way my brain works. And that's just me. And I have come, after being on this planet for nearly 50 years and living with it, I have come to be okay with it. You know, I'm coming to understand things more and more as I look into everything, but that's regardless of it. I always go back to what happened in the past, reflect it to what's happening now, and I have a different understanding of it, okay? And as far as what's going on in Lebanon right now, I see kind of what happened in, we'll use Korea for a minute, okay? During World War II, okay? And they didn't want their country separated. If you look at like South Korea, they are mostly religious, mostly Christian religions, okay? While in North Korea, religion is pretty much banned, okay? And I can understand why, and it has something to do with the division of it. And reality is, it has really nothing to do with the religious aspects of it. It has more to do with the military aspects of it. But we have Lebanon, who literally, to appease Israel, okay? And this is what it has been all these years, to appease them, to submit to them. They have disarmed themselves to a point where they cannot defend themselves, okay? So they're completely defenseless. And so a group of militias created Hezbollah, and they have been defending Lebanon from Israel's invasion. In 2024, Israel invaded Lebanon. Okay? And this is not a one-off. They invade Lebanon. They have been invading Lebanon for a long time because they want it. Okay? They even have stories. Okay? And if anybody really watches this, I have a video. You could probably find it on YouTube here, where a man is literally reading a story of taking Lebanon and it belonging to the Jews. This is what they believe, okay? They are a supremacist group who believe the whole world belongs to them. And as we start seeing how they really feel, it's not just him. There's that other video where the guy is talking to his fellow Jews saying, well, if you're leaving New York for Miami, don't leave New York for Tel Aviv, because this is going to be the financial capital of the world someday. This is where the money should be all put. They want the world trade to be in Tel Aviv instead of New York. They want the market to move in shekels instead of dollars. And this is where the power comes from. It comes from where the financial things are done. And like, I have come to realize that the only reason the United States is as powerful as she is because the world trades in dollars, and the only producer of dollars is the United States government. Okay? Not even us as citizens have any of that power, you know. And while I still have freedom of speech, I am going to start speaking my mind of this, okay? Like I said, Israel isn't the same victims of the Holocaust. They are not. They were created out of terrorist organizations who were never under threat of elimination. We can go back to the story of Esther. The Jews were never under threat either, because Esther was a Jew. And her father cousin, Molokai, or however it's pronounced, okay? Mordecai, I guess that's more the proper pronouncings, okay? Mordecai, okay? So they were Jewish, creating Jewish babies throughout the family and into the royal family, Okay? And that is partly why that a lot of Iranians, the Persians, have the same DNA as the original Jews that stayed in the Levant, okay, that stayed there throughout Christianity, throughout Islam. They proceeded to stay and protect what they believed is their holy land, okay, while other ones fled and not just fled. I mean, there was no mass fleeing, okay? They converted, okay? There was ones that truly believed and ones that didn't truly believe, okay? So this is my reality of what I really do believe. I believe that those people stayed and other people converted, and some converted to Christianity and stayed Christians, and some converted to Christianity and then converted to Islam, and then, are where they are today. But the people hadn't necessarily changed, okay? Now, back in the day, it is said that Judaism was like Christianity and Muslim. They were a conversion religion. And people in Europe converted to it. And religion is a whole weird subject. And to be honest, partly why I will never, ever, not just the fact that I am Catholic and I have certain belief systems because I was raised a certain way, okay? I don't have to necessarily believe in some supreme being, okay? But I do believe that we should behave in a certain moral way as human beings towards each other, okay? As my fellow human, I do not wish my fellow human harm because that's wrong of me. I'm not always perfect on that, okay? Sometimes I do pray for harm to come upon. I do wish ill upon others sometimes, okay? Which I shouldn't, but I do. Anyways, so we go on and we sit here and we talk about how, so people converted, okay? And it's part of religion, and religious beliefs have been around since the beginning of human civilization. Before Homo sapiens existed, the homos who came before us, we find in their artifacts of them ceremonially burying their loved ones, okay? We also find other ceremonial relics where they did have some type of belief of a power outside of themselves. In retrospects, like God meaning a supreme being, a supreme entity of some type. They believed in something, okay? And so this is, believing in something is as human can be. I just personally just don't believe it happens. I do believe, and I want to believe in something bigger. I want to believe there is something after death. But unfortunately, I'm grounded in reality, and once I die, I will return back to the earth for which I came. Okay? I will become dust, soak into the soil, and how I can, and I do believe that people can achieve immortality. Not in the way maybe others do, but if I were to carve relics, or in modern times, even a laminated paper or USB chips, okay, some type of written existence explaining something, I would become immortal, because eventually someone will someone or something or some high intelligent thing will dig it up and be able to translate it, causing me, okay, who died thousands or even millions of years later, okay, to become immortal, to live once again, maybe. Not in a real way, but in a more of a spiritual way, more of a memory of it, okay? So I believe that, but that's kind of about it, you know, when it comes down to that aspect of it. And so I find it very odd how, okay, these people who all believe in the same God, I do believe they believe in the same God, okay? Because just because their thought process on how to get to the God doesn't change, okay? How to get to the God doesn't change, okay? It is all the same. It's the same God, but like the Jewish religion believed they're still waiting for their Messiah, while the Christians believe Jesus is the Messiah, therefore he is the fulfillment, okay? And Muslims believe that Jesus was the fulfillment and Muhammad is the extension. So, and that's how I view it. So I do view that they are all kind of the same people. They are just different factions of it. Like I said in the beginning of this, I come from the Catholic faction of Christianity. And Catholics are kind of supremacists too, where Catholics believe that they're better than Lutherans and they're better than the Lutherans and they're better than definitely better than the evangelicals. They believe that those people are whack, crazy people, but the Baptists and, you know, the Methodists and stuff, they believe that they are the original. Now, they never really talk about the Orthodox because the Catholics and the Orthodox are kind of very similar. I mean, the Orthodox are... there's a debate on who is right and who is the original Christian, okay? There is a debate. I am not going to discuss that debate because it is a debate. But they have kind of, the Catholics in themselves have this superiority complex as well, because they do believe that theirs is the right, you know. And then we have other sections that have split off into something different, like you got the Mormons who believe Joseph Smith is this like new Messiah thing, which if we look at the Joseph Smith story, we can see where maybe some people feel like this Messiah thing is a little bit wonky. But irregardless, let's move on, okay? So you got Lebanon, who is being ruled by this Catholic guy as their president, and he was just put in there. But the guy before him, okay, wasn't much better. Okay? And Hezbollah is literally a militia that basically became a militia because nobody else was there to defend Lebanon. Lebanon had been decimated. They gave up all of their arms. They gave up all of their defense to appease Israel. Because Israel said, well, we won't attack you anymore. We won't make the United States attack you anymore if you just give up your ability to defend yourself. Same thing they're doing to Syria. Same thing they do to the Palestinians. It's the same thing they did in Egypt and in Jordan. These countries do not have the ability to defend themselves from outsiders. They only have the ability to defend the government from the people. And in Sisi's case of Egypt, he beats and kills the Egyptians in the streets. It's brutal to keep them in line. But they don't have the ability to defend themselves even against the tiny little country of Israel, who is a nuclear country and uses their nuclear might to wield power in the United States. Because for some reason, the United States is against a nuclear war, even though the United States is the only known country to have dropped a nuclear weapon, which seems hypocritical to me. Okay. As a U.S. citizen, I'd be honest to say that I do love my country, but I don't like my government. Okay. I was born here, and when people say that, I say I am from the land. I am of the land because I was born here. I am not going anywhere. This is where I was born. This is where I will stay. I personally revere the natives. Okay. Now, I don't like a lot of things that some of the modern natives that go on social media say, because I think that they're rude and they are like living in some fantasy world, or they're very hateful. Now, the leaderships of these tribes are not saying the same thing. Okay, they do not speak in the same manner, and there is reasons why they don't speak in the same manner. But I don't agree that what the British or the U.S. It wasn't even the U.S. It was the Union, is what they was called back in them days. Why it was still doing it. I don't believe what they did was right. Okay, I don't. I do not believe that murdering someone in any capacity is right, unless it's in actual self-defense. And that goes back to Catholic teachings, where I have this moral ground that I stand on, where I believe that all life is has value. I even believe like life of trees and plants and all this and all living creatures, okay, has value within our system of the planet. Okay, I truly believe in all of that. Okay, so as far as that concerns, okay, I have that belief, and so I believe that all living organisms have value. Okay, and it's just the understanding and living with that system within our current system, which irregardless. Okay, so let's move on. So they basically, okay, I don't agree that that should have happened, and I think that there's plenty of room for everybody in the world. Okay, and if I wasn't born in the United States, I wouldn't be living here. I would be somewhere else, and I would live in their society and I would probably still think the same way I do, because I wouldn't have changed. The environment would have changed. I might have had a different understanding and a different upbringing and a different loyalty, but I do have loyalty to the United States. Let's go back to Lebanon, though. There are people, and Lebanon has a mix of Christians and Muslims, and a lot of people in Lebanon they call them refugees still, even though they're generational refugees. And they're generational refugees from Palestine that Israel removed from their homes to make way. And this is how some of them even talk, that the Palestinians need to make way for the Jews. It's like they're kings and you're trash. And that's kind of how they view everybody. That's what I'm thinking. But Hezbollah was formed, and it was formed to defend the country, because the country was decimated and couldn't defend itself. And sure, they sought help from countries that had weaponry they could get. And in today's world, the only country in the region that has a real military that is meant to defend the country itself is Iran. Or Iran. Okay. So Iran's the only country in the Middle East that actually produces weapons that are meant to defend the country, while everybody else is only producing weapons to defend it's not the crown, but it is the government. Okay, so we'll just say the government. It's the government. Okay, so those are the only ones. And so Hezbollah is defending them. And they've also created other little resistance groups. And these are people resisting having their land taken by the Israeli Jews. And I say it in this manner because this is exactly what it is. It's the Israeli Jews. There are some Israeli Muslims and some Israeli Christians, but those are second-class citizens in Israel. Okay? They do not have the same rights. An Israeli Christian does not have the same rights as an Israeli Jew. And in some cases, Israeli Christians cannot leave Israel without forfeiting their right to return, which is sad within itself, if you ask me. But that's how they have it, and whatever. But they own our government as well, and they have all of this control. And then they act like victims, which these people have never been victims. I've explained that because Israel was created by Russian Poland, and in particular, the area of Poland, okay, and Britain. The Jews that came out of this, and they were terrorist organizations. They were internationally recognized terrorist organizations who actively committed acts of terror. Those are the people who created Israel. They were never in danger because they all went down there and started all this before World War II even came. It was during the first part of World War I. Okay? And so they went down there and they established this hierarchy and decided that they were going to take this land that they claim is biblically theirs, which I find ridiculous, but that's beside the point. And they have continued for the last 79 years to terrorize the region. They are the ones who are constantly at the center of all of the conflicts, you know? And it really bothers the hell out of me what is happening right now in Lebanon. We watched it happen to Syria, you know, in 2023, 2024 era. We watched it happen in the fall of the Assad. And I'm not saying these governments are good governments, okay? Because when a country starts losing control, extremists take over because you want somebody who speaks and who is going to be like hard on something. Okay, so extremists start to take over when the country is about to fall. And if you look at the United States, extremists in the United States have started taking over because the United States is falling. And it is because of Israel. And we can go back to it and stuff even before Israel was created, but the people who wanted to create Israel have started this. And they call themselves Zionists. They call themselves that. And that's why people call them that. Okay? But the truth of the matter is that it's not just and for whatever reason, okay? It's generally people of exceptional means and exceptional power who are at the center of all of this stuff. And in Lebanon, I'm not even sure, but they're just like allowing it to happen, okay? And when you ask the AI people, okay, which I use DeepThink why, I don't understand why, but they're all the same. They get to a point, and when I continue to point this out, of this Jewish supremacy and them being at the center of all of this, because they are at the center of it all. They're the ones creating all of the havoc in the area. You know, those people are the ones doing it. And they were never, and like I already said, they were never at risk of being eliminated. These people sit there and say that, but right now, Ben Gvir is on here bragging about mass murdering 9 million Palestinians. 9 million Palestinians. And he doesn't care if they are babies. They will be executed. All so that Israel can have the entire Levant, from the river to the sea. Israel is all you'll see. And they used to chant that, and that is where that term actually came from. Because that's all they want. They want it all. And they will tell you, we want it all. All of it. These people are the epitome of human civilization. They are the destroyers of it. Okay? Some say that they worship all, and they do. Okay? That Kevin O'Leary guy a few months back was posting how he was in Dubai getting this weird blood transfusion. And then you have other people, and they talk about how they get this, it's your dopamines that go into your system, and because of that, and when your dopamines go into your system, and if they scare you, they believe that that blood, okay, if they get you fearful enough and your dopamines are so high, okay, and it doesn't actually have to do with just mental fear, okay, physical pain causes these dopamines to kick in too. Why do you think people continue to get tattoos, and people are addicted to tattoos? And a lot of people who go and get all these tattoos, once they've had all these tattoos and their whole body's covering them, they go on and they'll do hanging, where they have hooks put in their skin and they are hanged. It's a high. The dopamines in their body gives them that weird high that they're actually looking for. And I really did know people who actually progressed in that manner. And they would tell you it is like a drug. They can't stop it, you know? But it's the same thing. And they believe that they get special powers if they take the blood from it. Okay? I read this book a long time ago, and I cannot find it anywhere. Okay? And it was about this girl who ran into her biological grandparents, and the reason that her mother basically gave her up is because she was hiding her from her parents, because they were basically bloodletting her. They were taking her blood and injecting it into themselves to stay young. And they believe that they get these special powers. I don't believe that that's true, but I believe that they believe it's true, and they have done it for centuries. Okay? And it's awfully weird that these people, the certain group of people, they seem to revere fertility gods. Even like Native American fertility gods, or fertility gods of like the Aztecs and the Incas and stuff. Those fertility gods, they revere, and the Egyptian fertility gods they revere, and Baal was a fertility god that they turned into this god where they sacrificed. And I'm not sure the sacrifice that they have put into your head, or their heads, okay, they have made it seem like that is what was demanded. I'm not sure that when it was created that was what was demanded. Okay, I think that it turned that way, because people who, when people think sacrifice, okay, we're coming up on, okay, we just had Palm Sunday, and we are coming up on Easter Sunday here, and this is the Holy Week, okay? And there's a lot of sacrifice that goes on to it. Okay, for Lent, you're supposed to give up something. Okay, a lot of people do give up chocolate because they feel like it's an easy thing to give up. Some people will give up red meat. Some people will give up meat completely. Some people will give up certain things. And we just had like the Muslims equivalent to this with Ramadan, and where they give up food and drink from sun up to sundown. Okay, and that is a sacrifice. And those throughout history, and it doesn't matter what religion you look at, the sacrifice, these kinds of sacrifices, and those are sacrifices too. Those are not human or animal or whatever sacrifices, but those are sacrifices in a different sense. Okay. But they also sacrificed livestock. They sacrificed, I mean, we hear about the sacrificing of the virgins into the volcano. I do believe that some people still practice, I don't know, still practice that. They still believe in that kind of a sacrifice, but everything's a sacrifice, okay? Parents sacrifice their own well-being for their children's well-being in most cases. Not saying in all cases, because sometimes that's not true, but generally speaking, they do. Okay, so when we talk about sacrifice, everything is a sacrificial. Okay, when it doesn't have to be sacrificing of virgins. It could be a different type of sacrifice. So, here we go. Let's move on, because like I said, I'm a ranter. Okay, and I lose track, and my mind goes a million miles a minute, and this is how I think. My process of my brain doesn't work the same as everybody else, I think, because it moves at a faster speed. And it could have the fact that could be why I do have an exceptional high IQ. I would not say that I'm smart. I'm not a reader. In fact, I'm dyslexic. So reading is very difficult for me. But when I had an IQ test, because they believed I was retarded, I scored exceptionally high. And after that, my teachers treated me differently. They treated me as though I was purposely unable to pass the spelling test. And I was purposely unable to read, which isn't true. I had difficulties reading because I'm dyslexic, and I don't think that registered with all these people properly. Okay, so having an IQ doesn't equal intelligence. Reading equals intelligence, because when you read, you become more knowledgeable. So I will never say that I know everything. I have a certain belief system, and if it is explained to me in a logical way, I can change my belief system based on new knowledge. I'm not rigid where I'm stuck in my belief system, because I'm not. Okay? I can have a different belief system if I obtain different knowledge. So let's move on from that too. So I'm very irritated though, and I continue to go back to this Lebanon thing, where the Lebanese government is more concerned with disarming Hezbollah, who is the only group of people defending the country of Lebanon, instead of joining up with Hezbollah to defend Lebanon against the aggressors, Israel, who want to steal their land. Okay? And the Christians will not be allowed back into Lebanon, because it will now be Jewish territory, and they're not going to be allowed to live there. They will be shoved somewhere else. That's why they blew up all the bridges. They want that territory, and they want the division. They seem to cause havoc. Okay? And what these people are, I don't know. I don't really pretend to know. They claim that they're Jewish, and that's fine. Whatever, because if you read some of the Talmud and the things that are in there, it is disgusting. Okay? It is disgusting what they think of Jesus. It is disgusting, okay? They talk about Mohammed, okay, the Muslim prophet, okay? They talk about him marrying a 9-year-old. Well, in the Jewish Talmud, or whatever, Talmud, whatever it's called, they have a thing where it is okay for a father to give his 3-year-old in 1 day, 3 years, 1 day-year-old child, girl child, not a boy child, but a girl child, to a man for sex. And if that man dies, that child can then be given to his brother. Quite sickening, but for sex. And they do specifically put that in there for intercourse. This is what they are agreeing to. So they can say that, okay? Everybody has had issues, okay? If you look at the Catholic priests, I'm not saying, I'm not going to defend the Catholics and what the Catholic priests did. I also won't defend the Catholics on what they did to Ethiopia. Because back in the 80s, when I was a kid, growing up, okay, we heard about, and my father was a reader, okay, and we had National Geographic every month come to our house, okay, and all I seen on there about the Ethiopians and starving to death, and, you know, the truth of the matter is that there was a drought, okay, I'm not saying there wasn't a drought. There was a drought, but the bigger problem is the Catholics owned these farmlands and they demanded to get the fruits and vegetables and grains that came from the farms and livestock and everything else. They demanded their share of it, and there wasn't enough to give them their payment and to feed the people. Instead of the Catholics saying, no, feed the people, we will sacrifice so that you can eat, which should have been done, okay? In all real reality, I mean, my belief system is that preserving human life should be top priority, okay? So I'll digress from that. I'm not going to excuse the Catholics for that famine, just like the Irish potato famine, where there was plenty of food to feed the people. The British were just taking it, just like the Catholics were taking the food from the Ethiopians. Okay, so, and that is the reality of it. So let's go on from this. And yes, like I said, it's a long rant. And I don't really care. I probably will misspell things. I probably will look in a certain way that I don't particularly like the way I look. And it's so weird because I'm going to upload this to YouTube. And when I upload this to YouTube, even though I have a lot of faces where I'm looking directly at the camera and I'm not like looking over here, my mouth isn't like, the caption that they always want to put on the video is me looking ridiculous. And I don't always look ridiculous. Yes, I make weird facial expressions because I'm human. You know? But let's go back to Lebanon here. And I have to continue to remind myself to go back to Lebanon and how angry I am that the Lebanese government is allowing Israel to come in and steal half of their country. And almost removing 1 million people. Denying 1 million people the right to exist on their land is what Lebanon is allowing Israel to do. And if we cannot speak about the Israeli Jews in the manner that needs to be spoken about because people are going to call you anti-Semite, I'm so over that freaking word. I'm so over it. It is ridiculous word to even have. Okay? Because I'm not anti-anything. Okay? I am pro-human. If anything, I'm pro-human. I'm pro-homo sapien. I believe that children are more valuable than adults. And I have that core belief. I believe that children are more valuable than any adult, a child, including myself. Okay? A 13-year-old boy who may be misguided has more value in his life than I do. Even if they kill me, I wouldn't want that child to have their life stripped from them. I would want them to maybe be reformed. And here I am crying about that because I do actually have this weird, I don't even know if it's weird. I mean, I believe that children, because they are the next future of human civilization, I believe that they are more important than adults. And I've always carried that belief, even when I was a child. I believe younger children were more important than me. Okay. So let's go on. And no, they're not fake tears like the Erica. And you know, anyways, let me go on so I can stop this. So anyways, okay, I am angry that these people are doing this. I am angry at the Lebanese government. And I feel as though the Lebanese people, okay, they have basically split into two groups. And it is because the Israeli Jews have caused so much pain for the Lebanese people. And they have stoked this mental thing where it should be Christians against Muslims, which it shouldn't be. Okay? None of them should be against any of them. If you look at like the younger generation of Jewish Americans, they are not on board with any of what Israel is doing. They want no part of it, most of them. Now, older ones do, and some extremist groups here do, okay? And how they take over our government and embed themselves and enrich themselves off of our government. You can look at that guy who did the whole report on Lakewood, New Jersey, and the problems that faces. And this is how they rip us of our wealth. Everybody, okay? But for the average Jew that is living in your neighborhood, no, they don't believe any of this stuff. Their parents might believe a little of it, but even they are questioning what is actually happening. Okay. So, and a lot of American Jews are not religious Jews. Okay, which are they even Jews at all? Some people would say I'm not Catholic because I don't believe in anything after life. I believe I'm here, and then once I die, that's it. I cease to exist. And to be honest with you, nobody's going to remember me. You know? Someone said something that 100 years after you die, no one will know who you are. No one will remember you. No one will visit your gravesite anymore. No one will think of you. And that is true. That is true. I mean, it's the way life really goes, unless you do something to immortalize yourself. And 100 years from now, probably nobody will think of you. But 1,000 years from now, someone might dig you up and you will be immortalized. Okay, and we can look at Romney, that Romney guy, or that Egyptian famous King Tut, but there was the other whatever. I can't think of the actual name, but it's in my head, and then just whatever. So we'll look at King Tut for a second. Okay, no one even thought about him for centuries. And then he was dug up and reborn, and now he's immortalized. He's in museums, artifacts in museums, stories in history books. People talk about him. People know his name. So, and I think that's kind of how things go. But anyways, let's move on. Back to Lebanon. I am very angry about that. And I do believe that the Hezbollah, they aren't harming the citizens, while Israel is harming the citizens. They've killed over 1,000 of them in the past month, okay? Including hundreds of children. And when Israel decides to bomb a school, they don't wait till a weekend to bomb the school or at nighttime to bomb the school. They wait until the children are at school, and then they bomb it. Because they want to kill babies. Okay? That's why the Israelis wore those shirts with the Muslim pregnant woman saying 1 shot, 2 kills. They're talking about killing her baby along with her. Because they want to eliminate everyone that isn't Jewish. They believe that they are the supreme being and that all others will be their slaves. And they are no longer a conversion religion. It is only through bloodline that you can achieve Judaism. Which is kind of sick and weird. Okay? And screams supremacy. But they are the victims. The victims. They're always the victims. They've been accused of all of these misdoings. And I believe that, yes, there was some sacrificial murdering of Christian children. Do I think all of them? No, I don't think all of them. But I do think a small fringe group of them did do this, and this is why they were kicked out. Okay? Because, like in World War II, when the United States rounded up all of the Japanese Americans, okay, U.S. citizens that happened to be descendants of Japan. They rounded them up, threw them in concentration camps where a lot of them died. And we are still paying reparations. People talk about Nakashima or whatever, in throwing the nuclear bomb like it's a good thing. Like Lindsey Graham in his fucking foaming at the mouth and murdering people. To murder people. I mean, God, he annoys the hell out of me because he's like a rabid dog. Anyways, we are still paying reparations for what we did as a country. Not me personally, but part of my tax dollars goes towards paying reparations to that. Might be a small portion, quite a large portion of my tax dollars goes to support the foreign nation of Israel. It doesn't even support the people here. You know? I mean, I live here in Colorado, in which I don't really care what anyone... No, I'm not ashamed. I'm not afraid of people finding me out and what they're going to cancel me. Okay? You can't cancel me. I'm not in any type of position. I'm a freaking nobody, okay? And which is fine. You know, they want to strip people of financial means. If they speak, they don't toe the line. They want to, you know, ruin their entire life. They want to make it so they are ended up homeless, dead on the street. That's how it seems to me. Okay? If you don't toe the line, well, I'm uncancelable. And I'm just going to come out and say it. I am. I'm uncancelable. I'm not going to apologize for anything that I say either. Unless I truly feel bad for something I said or did. I will apologize at that point. But I'm not going to falsely do it. Okay? My husband doesn't move up in his company, and he works in construction where a lot of people are even child molesters. So, yeah, go and try to cancel him because of something I said too. Try it. It's not going to work very well for you. Okay? But he doesn't move up in the company, and he's always like in fear of losing his job because, okay, he won't kiss ass. He feels that his work ethic is enough to give him job security, which it doesn't seem to be. Okay? It's like, well, I never call in. I always work. I always try to do my best and get it done as quickly as possible so it doesn't cost company money. That isn't enough. They want ass kissers. Because somehow these people who own these companies, they believe they're superior to their employees. That's another superiority complex thing that I don't buy into. Okay? If someone has more money than me, that doesn't mean they are more valuable than me. Okay? Some of you people believe that those who have money should be worshipped upon. You don't catch it by osmosis. Okay? You get it by theft or inheritance. That's how you get wealth, by theft or inheriting. So, it's either theft or death. Anyways, so now, and I did. I spent 20 minutes arguing with the goddamn AI about this because it pisses me fucking off when they sit there and anti-Semite. I'm so over that. I'm so fucking over it. And I am about done with my rant. Primarily because it's been like an hour. And also because I had gotten most of my rants out. And I don't even think I hit the point. The point of it is that Israel is the terrorist, along with the United States. I mean, people want to sit there and act like we're not already in World War III. We are in World War III. We have several wars going on in Africa with the Sudan and Somalia. And then we have the Middle East at war because Israel will always be at war with their neighbors because they want the land. Okay? We have China engaging in war with Taiwan because Taiwan is China and Taiwan wants sovereignty. Okay? We have war going on in Europe between Russia and Ukraine. We have war, well, we can also use the Middle East too with that part of Europe and then part of Africa, which is several different fronts in that. But let's digress and move over here to the Americans. We have war going on right here in the Americans. We have this proxy war going on between the United States and Mexico for whatever freaking reason, but also the United States Cuba, the United States Venezuela, the United States Colombia soon, the United States Ecuador. Yeah, Ecuador. Maybe you should look that up if you haven't really heard about that. How the United States bombed Ecuador over Ecuador saying, look, we need to preserve the rainforest along with the indigenous people. We cannot be cutting this down for more farmland. We need to stop all this. And so Ecuador says this and said they need to do this for the preservation of humanity. In fact, I mean, everyone says the rainforest is the lungs of the earth. So, they're doing what's right for humanity, and the United States bombs them for it because we want resources. Greed. Isn't that one of the deadly sins? Greed. It seems to be rampant everywhere. Greed. Lust. Okay? And maybe I suffer from pride because I'm not willing to submit to society. But anyways, some of these things are the way as they are because they are whatever they are. But remember one thing, that the Palestinians did not come to Israel. Israel destroyed the Palestinians to steal their land. Iran is not in the United States killing our children. We are in Iran murdering their children. The Lebanese are not in Israel killing their people. Israelis are in Lebanon killing Lebanese children. These are the facts of the matter. And why they want to install a king that the Iranian people already overthrew and kicked out is beyond me. So, these are my rants for the day, and it is what it is. Have whatever day is in your future.